Hi everybody, thanks so much for watching this presentation on the fiscal year 21 Thrive Funding Overview and Guidelines. My name is Marissa LaRoe. I'm the new Program and Evaluation Coordinator here at Metro Arts. And we are currently in cycle 1 of the fiscal year 21 Thrive Funding. There'll be 2 cycles this fiscal year, one in September and one in January. And these guidelines will apply to both cycles. So let's start by going over what the Thrive program is. Some of you may be very familiar with Thrive already, and some of you may be new to the program. Thrive is a funding program that was set up outside of Metro Arts' traditional grant funding programs to open up funding opportunities to individuals and organizations who may not be eligible for a traditional Metro Arts grant. So Thrive is a funding program designed to build, strengthen, and cultivate communities in Nashville and Davidson County by supporting artist-led projects that encourage artistic and cultural experiences, community investment, and neighborhood transformation. So successful Thrive projects will promote artistic excellence, impact neighborhoods, actively engage residents in the planning and art-making process, and promote cultural equity. And you can read more about the Thrive program on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. So the Thrive program, like all of our strategic funding initiatives, supports Metro Arts' overall outcomes. Those outcomes are supporting vibrant creative neighborhoods, stronger creative workers, and deeper cultural participation. And that leads us toward our overall vision that every Nashvilleian participates in a creative life. So let's go over some of the highlights from the Thrive guidelines. You can find the full guidelines on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. And if you haven't looked at those already, I really encourage you to go over them carefully as you put your application together. These are going to have all the details that you need to know about what needs to be involved in a project, what goes into the application, how the application process will work, what the scoring is going to be, all the attachments that you're going to need. These have all the details. And we'll just go over in this presentation some of the highlights. So first of all, one of the most important aspects of any successful Thrive project is going to be that community focus. So that means that partnerships with other artists, organizations, businesses, and/or neighborhood groups are required as part of Thrive funding. The projects have to be open to the public and accessible and welcoming to people of all cultural backgrounds, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, and ability. And then very importantly, a community design process must inform some aspects of the art. So the artist is working with the community to create the art together. And previously creative artworks, performances, or creative content are not eligible, but traditional content is okay. So up to $9,500 is available per project. And this slide goes over what funds can and cannot be used for. And again, the guidelines have more details about this. Basically, funds can be used to pay for artist fees, project coordinator fees, and non-durable project and program supplies. So that's supplies that you'll use to make the project, make the artwork, but not supplies that will outlast the length of the project. So the funds cannot be used for capital improvements and equipment purchases, reduction of debts, food and beverage, activities or programs with religious content, political lobbying, fundraising events, purchase of property, performance space or facility rental, marketing and promotion, or durable program and project supplies. So again, that's supplies that are going to outlast the length of the project. So you can apply for one project per fiscal year, and our fiscal year runs from July 2020 to June 2021. So again, we'll have 2 funding cycles this fiscal year, one in September and one in January. So we're currently in the round of applications in September, and we'll have another round of applications coming up in January. And your projects can be completed at any point in that fiscal year. So if you are applying now and you're thinking of doing a project later in the spring, that's fine, as long as it's completed within that July to June timeframe. And then one note, projects that result in public artwork will require the approval of the Metro Arts Public Art Committee and a plan for long-term maintenance and/or removal of the artwork. So when you get into the application, you'll see specific questions about this and a specific form to upload, planning for the public art aspects of the project. So one requirement that's new this year is that if you are working with youth or in youth settings, we will require a background check. If you've previously completed a background check for another organization in the past year, you can provide us a copy of that background check, and that will happen as part of the awarding process. So you won't need to worry about this until after award announcements are made, and then we'll be in touch with you about either completing that background check or providing us with a copy of a background check that you've had completed previously. And then having an item come up on your background check does not necessarily render you ineligible from Thrive funding, but it will require further review from Metro Arts. And you can just email Metro Arts with any questions that you have about that and background checks. Okay, so we've gone over what kind of projects are eligible for Thrive funding. So let's talk about who can apply. So you can apply if you are an individual artist or a team of artists. And you can also apply if you're a business or an organization. Again, you don't have to be a 501c3 nonprofit for this funding. You do have to be 18 years or older, and you do have to live or primarily work in Davidson County. And when you get into the application, you'll see a place to upload proof of residency, and there are a lot of different options for how to prove your residency that you live or work here, and you can find more information about those in the Thrive guidelines, or you can email us for more information if you have questions about that. So there are some instances where someone would not be eligible to apply, and that would be if you're an organization or you're working with a project that is funded in any way by a Metro Arts grant. So if your organization gets a grant from Metro Arts, or if the project that you're applying for is in some way funded by a Metro Arts grant, you won't be able to apply for Thrive funds. Also not eligible would be previously funded Thrive projects, so we don't want to just repeat the same thing that we've already done. And then also artists who are under contract for Metro Arts Public Art Commissions. And then also anyone who is or has immediate family members serving as an employee of Metro Nashville, Davidson County, or Metro Public Schools, or who are serving as a member of the Metro Arts Board of Commissioners or the Public Art Committee. And then several things are new this year compared to previous years of Thrive funding. So again, background checks will be required when working with youth or in youth settings. And if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to email us here at Metro Arts. And then COVID social distancing plans. So we know that there's still a great deal of uncertainty about what the coming fiscal year is going to look like in terms of if we can interact face-to-face, hold in-person events, things like that. So we want to know what your backup plans are if your original project design needs to change to comply with social distancing. So currently Nashville is in a modified phase 2 according to the mayor's roadmap to reopening. And we would encourage you to take a look at the requirements for the different phases that are available on the mayor's office website, and be thinking about how you might create a plan B or a plan C should we go to an earlier stage in the plan, or should you be unable to meet face-to-face. And then we also have a question about your evaluation plan, and we just want to know what success will look like for your projects and how are you going to show that success. So for some projects, certainly part of showing success will be the completion of the project. You'll have some art to display or a performance to show, but then also thinking about what success looks like for the community that you're working in and how you can show the ways that that project lifted up the voices of that community or positively impacted that community in some way. And then we also have new questions about a cultural equity plan. So we want to know how the project includes underrepresented groups that may have been left out of arts funding or discourse or leadership in the past. And this includes, but is not limited to, people of color, people of all ages, differently abled people, LGBTQ people, women, and people from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. And then I wanted to talk about some examples of recently funded Thrive projects. And these are all examples from our April 2020 Thrive funding. And I really encourage you to take a look at these because these projects were all completed during lockdown, during our phase 1 of social distancing. And they have some great examples of how to be collaborative and engage neighborhoods in a collaborative way without meeting face-to-face. So some examples that were funded and that you can look at on our website are virtual poetry and music shows, a collaborative theater project that was combined into a film where each person involved in the performance videotaped themselves and then it all came together into one film, online improv, dance, art, and music classes, online writing workshops and virtual concerts, billboard murals, collaborative visual art projects. There was one where people posted different photographs that they took and it's going to be put together into a visual art project. Virtual galleries to exhibit community artwork, and lots of other really great projects. So again, check out metroartsnashville.com/thrive to see more examples of recently funded Thrive projects. So some things to consider as you put together your plans for Thrive projects this coming fiscal year. Think about ways that you can be creative in engaging the community and your partners during social distancing. So ways that you can maybe use technology or creative solutions to work together to create arts without necessarily meeting face-to-face. And then also think about, what does success look like for your project and for your community, and how are you going to show that? And then also have a plan for managing the funding and communicating with Metro Arts. So after you're awarded the funding, we will have staff members who are in touch with you somewhat frequently just about completing forms, how to use logos correctly, stuff like that. And it can be really helpful if you can identify a point person in your organization or on your project team to be that person that's communicating with Metro Arts, just so that everything can run smoothly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's included in the application. So you'll first need to complete the Thrive application form, and there's a link to that on the Thrive page on the Metro Arts website. Again, that's metroartsnashville.com/thrive, and that will be through our submittable portal. It's pretty easy to use. You create an account and log in, and then you just fill out the form there on submittable on the website. And then artist supporting materials. So if you look in the Thrive guidelines on pages 5 to 6, it goes over in details what kind of materials you can upload to show that your lead artist is a working artist and show us their work. And then the lead artist resume or CV that shows at least 2 years of professional artistic work. And again, more information about that in the guidelines. And then 1 letter of recommendation and 1 letter of support from a community partner. Then there's a budget form that's included in the application on submittable, and a timeline form that allows you to show the timeline of your work and when things are going to happen. And then if your project is going to result in public art, there's a public artwork information form to complete and upload and submittable. And if your project is going to be working with youth, there's a youth arts engagement information form to complete and upload and submittable. And both of those are available on our website, and they're also available when you first click apply on the submittable portal. You'll see a link to download both of those forms, and you can complete them and just upload them right into the application. And if you have any questions about that, or you run into any technical difficulties, feel free to email Metro Arts staff and we can help you through that. Okay, so let's go over the application process and the timeline. And there's a much more detailed timeline in the Thrive guidelines on page 7. But there are 3 key stages. The first is the application stage. So that's what we're in right now. And applications will be due on September 15th, and you will apply via the link on the Metro Arts website. And then from September 16th to 18th, there's an initial eligibility review by Metro Arts staff. So that's where staff will go through all the application materials, make sure everything's there, make sure that your project meets the eligibility criteria. And then from there, it goes to a community panel review. So we pull together a panel of community experts, and every panel has at least one professional artist, and they review the applications, they review the projects, and then they make recommendations to the Arts Commission about funding. And so then the announcement of awards will happen by October 23rd of 2020. So during that initial eligibility review by Metro Arts staff that's happening September 16th to 18th, make sure to check your email and voicemail, because we may contact you for additional information at this stage. So as we're going through your application, if we see that something's missing, or if we think that you need to provide some additional detail before it can go to that community review panel, we will check in with you and ask you for that. So make sure that whatever contact information you put down in the application, that someone is monitoring that during that September 16th to 18th period. So if you look on pages 4 and 5 of the Thrive Guidelines, you'll see the scoring rubric that will be used by that community panel to determine who gets recommended for funding, which applications get recommended for funding. And that rubric has much more detail about each of these, but I'll just go over them briefly. There are 20 possible points that an application can receive, and they're divided into 4 categories. So up to 5 points are available for artistic excellence. And this is looking at, is there a professional artist that's involved in the project? Does the project have strong artistic vision? And then importantly, is there that artist-led community involvement? So is the artist working closely with the community to produce the project? And then up to 5 points are available for community engagement and placemaking. So for this, we're looking at if there's a demonstrated vision for how that project's going to positively impact the community, if there's an articulated community need, basically how the community benefits from this project. And then up to 5 points are available for feasibility and logistics. This is where we're looking at if you have a clear timeline, clear project plans, if the budget makes sense, and if you have clear measures of success, and someone's clearly in charge of the project, and there's going to be that point person identified to work with Metro Arts. And then new this year, there are up to 5 points allotted for cultural equity. So this is where we're looking to see if the project has that commitment to people who have historically been left out of arts funding, leadership, and discourse. Especially looking at going beyond simple representation of those communities and those groups, and really involving those communities and groups and lifting up their voices through the project. Finally, we wanted to go over some frequently asked questions that have come up during the application process so far. And at the end of the slideshow, you will see contact information for any additional questions that you may have. So first question that we received, when are you anticipating projects in this round to begin? So the project dates are flexible as long as they're completed in this current fiscal year. So that'll be between July 1st, 2020 and June 15th, 2021. The fiscal year technically ends on June 30th, but we want to close things out by June 15th just so we have time on our end to wrap everything up. So you may be applying during this first cycle in September, but you may have a project in mind for the spring, and that would be fine as long as it's completed by June 15th. So next question, I am a past Thrive recipient. Can I propose a project that uses a similar model to a past project, but serves a new community, engages new partnerships, and addresses issues specific to that community? Will this be different enough? So there is a question in the application asking if you've received Thrive funding before, tell us how this project is different. And we don't want to fund the same project over and over again. But yes, if you are using a model that you have used with another Thrive project, with another community, and you want to take that successful model and apply it to a new community, new partnerships, that would be fine, just as long as you make it clear how it's going to be different and change to adapt this new community. So next question, our organization plays traditional music, not original music. Is our project eligible for Thrive funding? Yes, traditional music is eligible as long as the songs are not licensed. And the next question, if we are applying as an organization, should we submit work samples from the lead artist or examples of work produced by our organization? That is, samples of artwork produced by our program participants. So in this case, the organization was asking, hey, our lead artist has work samples, and then we also want to use a similar model that we've done with some of our other programs, and we could show the kids that we've worked with the work that they've produced. Which one would be better? And the answer to that is that either option would be just fine, and you would want to choose the work samples that make the best case for your organization to lead the project. So again, if you have any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to me, Marissa LaRoe, and my email address is there on the screen. You can also reach out to Janine Cristiano. She is our Strategic and Funding Initiatives Manager here at Metro Arts, and we would be happy to answer any questions you have. If you'd like to set up a Zoom call for consultation, we'd be happy to meet with you. Just reach out and let us know. So thanks so much. We look forward to seeing your applications and hearing about your projects.